Okay, well, welcome back to Foundation of a Nation. This is Sheryl Devereaux. I'm here with Robert Gonzalez, who is running for the congressional district that Ron Paul is vacating. And so, you know what? We never did say this. District.
It's District 14.
14.
It's all of Galveston County.
District 14.
All of Galveston County, about 50% of Brazoria, and all of Jefferson County.
Oh,
so it's quite a district.
Okay, now that's a lot better than it used to be. I'll tell you. When I saw what it was before, but they took part of Brazoria. When they first put the redistricting map together, we had all of Brazoria County. Right. And so now Pearland.
District 22. Okay, District 22 is part of the Brazoria part is Pearland, Mambo, and Alvin. All of Alvin is part of District 22. South of Alvin.
No kidding. Alvin?
All of Alvin.
Wow, they came pretty low down then.
Yes.
That's not too far from here. That's only like 20 miles.
Right. Right.
Or 20 minutes.
But you get outside on the southern side where 1462, just past 1462 from Alvin, and that's District 14.
Okay. Okay, so there you go. And we are, and by the way, one of the beautiful things that we have going on these days is that if you want to support somebody that you think is going to contribute to your state's liberty, you can contribute to their campaign, which is what happened 2 years ago. I actually worked on campaigns in Texas that were not in Texas. I was here, and I worked on campaigns, one in Pennsylvania, one in Indiana, one in Utah, that were pivotal people that needed to be in office. And that's what we really need to do. We have the power. We have a lot of power behind us now that we didn't have 10 years ago and even 20 years ago, especially, where we have no excuse. We actually can form alliances among like-minded people in a massive group these days. So I encourage you to do that if you're listening from outside the area. And by the way, if you've got somebody that you would like to be on the show, that would be great too.
Give you my website.
Yes. Okay. So now we've got Robert Gonzalez with us. Let's give them the website.
The website is Gonzalez, Gonzalez, 2012.com. But if you misspell it with an S, it comes to my website anyways. I bought all the domains.
Oh, so. Smart. Yeah.
I bought more than one domain. So.
That's good. And all the misspellings too. You know what? That's brilliant.
Absolutely.
People need to do that.
And so if you want somebody to come up there to Washington to serve you, that's me. I'm not running for anything for myself. I'm doing it for America because I have to pay back.
And I'm assuming that you will take donations of any kind and any size, as long as it's not a dog or a cat or something that you can't.
No dogs or cats.
Yeah. Just anything with a president on it.
Not that I don't like them, but I'm busy.
It doesn't work.
I'm busy. And it won't work as a campaign fund, right?
Yeah. Okay, well, let's continue what we were going into, because we talked about TSA, and if you're just joining us, we talked about executive orders and TSA. So you can listen to the second half or the first half of the broadcast on in the archive when we're done, if you're just now joining us. Okay, let's go on. I want to cover some of the other things here. We alluded to the DOJ because the DOJ was the bureaucracy that came down on Texas and said, we're going to shut you down if you pass this bill. Now, the interesting thing about this interesting thing that they did, this bullying tactic, is I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Bring it on! One day. It will take one day. Why? Because Houston has 3 major airports: Ellington, Hobby, and Bush Intercontinental, largest intercontinental airport in the entire United States. So you're not just making a few Texans mad. You are making a whole lot of people mad everywhere.
That's right. Not
just in the United States, but overseas. We're already thinking we're a little bit kind of not too, a couple course low. So yeah. So shut us down a little bit. Yeah, it'll take a day. To me, that's just a chicken. A chicken thing.
The old the flag that says "Come and take it." I said let's try it. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Let's do the stand down.
Yeah, I see, and I agree. And I think the story you told with Dewhurst is a really important one, because I had actually, I'm pretty sure I read this. I kind of wondered if there was an amendment or something that the House was actually doing, because it actually went through the House first, and it went through unanimously.
But they were supposed to pass the Senate bill with the amendment.
Correct, and that's that's exactly right.
That's where it was headed.
Yeah, and I actually wrote an article on that too because I wanted to know what went on. I actually called Dan Patrick and I said, "Okay, kind of know better. What's the deal here?" And they told me what had happened.
Yeah.
And so it's an extraordinary story of inside politics.
Absolutely.
And how you do not know what happens. And these are the kind of things that really do need to get out.
And now he's running for U.S. Senate.
Yeah.
The same guy that killed this
anti-groping
bill.
The sabotage. And by the way, in case you're not familiar with the bill was not really, we have tagged it as an anti-TSA bill. That's the nickname, an anti-groping bill.
Right.
What the bill really did was it actually reinforced Texas state law as it already is in existence. Texas state law has several clauses in it under the sexual assault statute, and each one of those clauses defines sexual assault a different way. One of those is to be assaulted through duress, that you actually are willing to be assaulted, but it's because of duress, because you're being forced to do it. This is what is happening with the TSA. So under that's just one of the clauses that falls under. So under Texas law, they're technically already in violation. But because it's a bureaucracy on the federal government side, it was putting beef into what Texas could do. Now, truthfully, Anthony Scalia in 1995, either 1995 or 1996, he came out with it. There was I won't go into the details, but there was you can actually look it up. If you just put in Anthony Scalia and put in 1995, and you put in federal government cannot legislate states, you'll pull up the entire ruling. And in that ruling, that's what he said. He said that the federal government he reaffirmed what had already been said by Marshall, which was one of the original
writers?
No, he was an original Chief Justice.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Thurgood Marshall.
That's right.
Right.
Okay, and so he just reaffirmed it just a couple hundred years later. So, and what he really said was, you know what, you're out of your zone. Okay, federal government has no business legislating states, period. So just on that alone, we have it. But the reality is that we've got so many people that don't know what's going on. Including Congress, which statistically does not know the Constitution. Actually, they broke that. They actually broke the Constitution. Right. Broke the statistic because last year they actually read the Constitution, and the statistic was less than 5%, between 3 and 5% of the Congress has even ever read the Constitution all the way through.
I believe, Sheryl.
Yeah. Well, they broke that 2 years ago because when they went, or last year I think, when they went into session.
That was January 2011.
2011. Right. Okay, so we're 1 year old on breaking that. What a highly esteemed statistic to have. All right, so let's get back into here about TSA, or not the DOJ, because the DOJ is the one that stepped in and said it wasn't TSA, it was the DOJ, which is the one that really does everything these days because everything's legal, or illegal, but it's in legal context. So the reality is that we've got some major bullying going on with the DOJ. I'm going to let you just have free reign to talk about what you think is important and what isn't, what you think they're doing, and what you'd like to do about it.
Okay, the Department of Justice. And we're going to talk something that's near and dear to us right now, and that's the voter ID.
Yes.
Okay. Voter ID was...
the latest bullying for Texas.
It was almost passed in the 81st legislative session, but we didn't have enough Republicans in there to get it passed. And in this 82nd legislative session, which is what we're in right now, of course the session's over, but they still have to do work. But we now had 101 Republicans and 49 Democrats on the representative of the House, and we had 19 Republicans and 12 Democrats in the Senate. So we had enough votes to pass the voter ID law, and we did it. Now think about this. In 2010, the voters went out and they voted for the representatives that are representing us today. we had well, actually it was 99 Republicans, 2 jumped ship soon thereafter. And so now we had the voters got a chance to speak. That's what the representative republic is all about. We're going to represent the people who voted you in. They passed the Voters' Rights Act. Excuse me, again, the Voters' Rights Act. I'm going to that. The voter ID.
Yeah, ID. Yes, ID.
And the Department of Justice jumps in and says, well, you are trying to disenfranchise voters. Well, who are the voters that they're trying to disenfranchise? Because really, there is no such thing.
Right.
Because everybody has some form of ID, and if you don't have the proper form of ID, you can go to the driver's license office and get you an ID. Right. And some people say, well, it's too far to go. But they've made it easier so that if it's anywhere within the vicinity that you can go and get it, they allow you to go to satellite offices to get your ID. But it wasn't about the proper voting to have
disenfranchising people. You know.
It wasn't about getting the polls to be fair. It wasn't about that. It was about politics. The Department of Justice came in, and then they used the Voters' Rights Act. I keep saying that because that's where it all starts.
That's right.
We are one of 13 states that are bound by the Voters' Rights Act of 1965. In 1965, they didn't have enough representation for the black citizens of the United States, and so they wrote the Voters' Rights Act. And I want to tell you something, Sheryl, in 1965, it made sense.
That's right.
They deserved representation. They got it.
Right.
But you fast forward to 2012, blacks and whites, Hispanics and Asians, they live together, they play together, they worship together, they marry, I mean...
Eat together, drive together, see each other, wait together, live together, yeah, everything.
There's no reason in 2012 that we have to have a Voters' Rights Act that says you have to have certain representation for this group and certain representation for... I'm a Hispanic. I don't believe for 1 second that a white male or female can't represent me, the Cuban, who was born in Cuba, who is Hispanic, nor do I believe that a Hispanic can't represent me, or a black American, or an Asian. It's crazy.
Right.
So what they did is they used that Voters' Rights Act to usurp the vote of the people of Texas. Again, it's the bullying that you were talking about. And so what has to happen is we're going to have to somehow repeal the Voters' Rights Act. It has to be done at the state level and at the federal level. It has to be done because there's 2 sections that you have to repeal. Mm-hmm. And you have to give the states the rights back through the 10th Amendment. We are losing the 10th Amendment. It's an overreach by the federal government.
Yeah.
So it has to happen by somebody who has the fortitude to do it. Now, that said, who better than a Hispanic American or an American Hispanic, someone who came from a Spanish-speaking country, to go up there and say, enough is enough again.
Exactly.
Okay?
Right.
I am not afraid to do that because, I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to call me racist? I mean...
Well, they might.
But I'm Hispanic.
Exactly.
You know, I don't see any reason why a guy like Alan West in Florida can't represent the whites. And I know they like him. He's a good man.
Yeah.
Whether he's black, white, Asian, or Hispanic, it doesn't matter. It's the character of the person that matters, not the color of the skin or where they come from.
Now, I'm going to interject something here. I told you something that you have free reign. But I'm going to interject this simply because I think the last broadcast we talked about fascism. Correct? That's what I want you to go back to, because a lot of what we've talked about tonight has to do with fascism and what's happened to our government with a fascist in government. One of the key identifying characteristics of a fascist is they're racist.
Yes.
And they bring up the race card all the time.
Great point.
Okay, and see, and this is why I want to bring this up, because so if you have somebody who wants to run for office, who gets these characteristics, sees these characteristics, and knows that they are endangering our country, that is a very good tool. So it's somebody that can pick those things out like you're doing. And you make some really good points, because what are we all anyway? Are we our race?
We're human beings. They're all together.
That live where? And we live in
America.
Americans. Yeah.
How simple can that be?
Yeah.
We can't balkanize this country.
Yes.
That's true. But I'm going to say something real quick.
Yeah, no, you've got the floor now.
Talk about the little things that I was talking about earlier. How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Let me tell you something. in Cuba, the blacks and whites, we had Orientals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're European, we're from African descent, we're from Asian. I'm telling you, it's a melting pot just like it is in the United States and Cuba. Okay? Castro takes over, and all of a sudden, and I'm telling you, the blacks who were mixed breeds, we call them mulatto. My friends, friends of ours, we call them chocolate. I mean, it was, we're all friends. We had harmony in Cuba. Now, well, Castro wanted to pass certain things, and he wanted to do things up here to destroy the freedoms that we had, and he did. Trust me, by force. But what he did was, when he was helping the African National Congress in Africa, he was sending Cubans to fight in Mozambique and Zimbabwe. And he was sending whites over there.
Mm-hmm.
He was bringing blacks over to Cuba, and he was trying to create racial strife.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he do that? Because, you see, if you create racial strife on a horizontal level, then you can do anything you want on a vertical level.
Cause.
This thing that is happening right now with this, is it Trayvon Williams, Lewis, this right now that's happening in Florida?
Yes.
Huh?
Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin, thank you.
Trayvon Martin.
It's exactly the same thing. We are creating racial strife where there isn't any.
Right.
And so what the president, and by him saying this young 17-year-old could be my son, he is interjecting racial strife in this country where there isn't any.
Right.
Of course, there's pockets of racism everywhere. Of course. But collectively, as a whole community of Americans, there isn't. I don't believe it. I know because
we've gone way backwards.
No doubt about it. Yeah. But see, but that's part of the socialist plan and the destruction of life, of liberties. If you create strife between people on a horizontal level, it happened in Cuba. Again, I see these things. Then you can do what you want on a vertical level, and people are too busy with their lives getting at each other, and you do what you want up here. It's called the Magician Act. I call it the Houdini Act.
Oh, I love it.
Look at my hands. Look at my hands, and I'm going to do this over here. You're not seeing. That's what it is. And Obama is performing the Houdini Act on us right now. And people have to stop. They got to stop this racial strife because it's not there. It's just not there.
You know what? See, B and I have talked about this before, where we've said the very same thing. He's using all these distractions so that he can get away with what he. I love that analogy of Houdini.
It is a Houdini Act.
I love it. That's classic. Okay, so what would you do then with let's go back to the DOJ a little bit, because the DOJ is involved with all these things like the Voter ID Act. So let's go back to that again, because you set up the premise and everything. So now, and you said we were going to work with the states in tandem, the states and the federal government in tandem.
Yes.
But some things do have to work that way.
Yes.
Would you consider repealing or modifying the original Voter Right Act?
No doubt about it. As a Cuban American, or an American Cuban, like to say, no doubt about it. I am the perfect guy to do it. I'm telling you, because first of all, I'm not going to go up there and I'm not going to be beholden to any big money, because it's just like Rush Limbaugh always says in his show. The media cannot destroy me because they didn't make me. Well, the establishment can't destroy Robert Gonzalez because they didn't make him.
Right.
So who better to repeal the Voters' Rights Act than somebody who has been there, done that? You know, somebody who knows what it is to be of a minority status.
Sure.
You know, who better than me?
Sure.
And because I'm not going to owe anybody, I can go and do it. And what I need, you said earlier in the first show, you said, we got your back.
Yes.
Well, that's exactly right. Because if I do this and I get pushback from the establishment, and I will, if I get pushback, then I'm going to come back to you, the voter, and I'm going to say, I need your help.
That's right.
If there's one thing the establishment hates the most, or fears the most, excuse me, is the better word, is not to get the vote. They don't want to lose the vote.
Right. So
So if I get the people involved, because I'll have the bully pulpit as a congressional member,
right.
if I get them, then we can make things happen. So you have to, in order to start cutting back on all the Department of Justice's infiltration into our liberties and rights, you have to take on a biggie.
Yeah, yeah.
If you get the biggie, then everything starts to fall. Again, you have to start getting
because
the
everything,
to fall.
it's like the octopus with the tentacles, is what it really is. It isn't a matter of having some sort of impact that's, that you can wear a medal for. The reality is that it's related to so many things, and it's involved in so many other things. It's like a precision surgery. If you take out the thing, whatever it is, the cancer or the growth or the kink or whatever it is, if you take that out, all the pain that's radiating out from it dissipates as well. And I think that's a great example. Now, okay, let me just kind of talk here a second, if we can shift gears.
Okay.
When you talk about doing these things and about having people, at your back, which you need. Everybody really needs to understand this. People need to understand this. This is not about voting. This is about being involved in America.
No doubt about it.
And Aaron, I close every show this way. Really, the bottom line is we have got to. It's not hard. Many hands make light work. It's not hard. We've talked before about how it's a click of a button. I cannot tell you how many times I have signed a petition, and it is effective.
Yes, it is.
It's effective. It works. So, all I did was, they already know who I am. To whatever I'm a member of a bazillion organizations, so you can be too. If you want to feel important, that's your way. Because, and you might call it junk mail, but it isn't junk mail. It's not junk. These are important information and ways for you to be involved, and all you have to do, because they already have your information, because you signed up for it, you have to click a button. That's it. You don't have to fill out a form. It's so easy to be involved these days. Okay.
Yes.
So, as a congressman, though, part of your responsibility, the way the Congress was designed, which is different than the Senate, was to be among the people.
Right. That's why it's only a 2-year term.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Makes sense.
So, and it was not meant to be 1 year voting, 1 year campaigning,
right.
1 year voting. It was meant to be do your job for 2 years. And we were talking about that too. All right. So, how would you best? We're kind of shifting gears a little bit. We've been talking a lot of heavy meat stuff with the Constitution, but let's get down to practicality of how you would function as a congressman. How would you engage in the district, the people in the district, in order to have them at your back?
That's a great question. Okay, I like that. There are a number of candidates that my opponents, that their plan is to move to Washington. I can't think of a more egregious thing to do than to move to Washington.
Do you have a list of those names?
You have. You said it. Do your homework.
Yeah.
Okay. Ask the questions. That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything worse than that than to go to Washington, move up to Washington. Guess what? You lose contact, and now you become part of the establishment. The first thing is, obviously, I will have 3 district offices, specifically, in one in Missouri County, one in Galveston County, and one in Jefferson County. A place where people can come. But, better yet, because I am not going to be bought and paid for, what I'm going to do every time I create legislation, I'm going to go to the people first before I go to my colleagues. Because what happens,
what a novel idea.
What happens is, if I can get you guys to come up to Washington, or if I get a bunch of you to come to my district office and take a picture, the petition you were talking about?
Yes.
Take a picture of 50 of us in my office. And go back to Washington and say, get on the House floor and say, this is what the people want. It's about we the people. Okay? Remember, Congress, in the Constitution, it specifically says you must come and at least assemble once in your term.
That's right.
Excuse me, once a year.
Once a year.
With the premise that, hey, your job's back at home, right? Now we're never coming home. That's the problem. So what I want to do, my way of thinking is not going to be to get into and go to these cocktail parties. I don't want to do that. Okay, that's not my forte. My forte is get into the people. Because you know what? Sheryl, I didn't tell you, but when I was growing up, my dad had a janitorial services.
I knew that though, yes.
You do that?
Yes,
I picked up a lot of trash. I threw out a lot of trash. I've mopped a lot of floors. I swept a lot of floors. I've been there. I am the people. I am. I mean, it's in my DNA. So for me to be rubbing elbows with the high rollers, it's not me. So what I want to do is I want to legislate from the people's point of view, not from Washington's point of view.
What a novel idea.
That's what I want to do.
I kind of think that was, let's see, were there a few founding fathers who thought maybe the Congress, the House of Representatives,
yes,
was supposed to do that?
George Washington, George Washington didn't want to be president. He was coerced to being president. He wanted to go back home.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be. I mean, I want to be one that, by the way, I'm a term limits guy. I don't know if you checked that out. I'm a term limit guy. And so my constitutional amendment, my 28th Amendment, is term limit the House to 4 terms and the Senate to 2. If they can't do it in 12 years in the Senate or 8 years in the Congress, you need to come home anyway. You need to give a new phrase space. And people say, Robert, you're never going to get that done. I have a plan.
Okay, let's hear it.
This is my plan.
We've heard this from people as long as I've been in politics. Oh, it's very easy.
This is what I want to do, and it's my plan. What I want to do is I want to grandfather the Nancy Pelosi's, believe it or not. I want to grandfather the Harry Reids and the John Boehners. They're not going to vote for my bill if I tell them I'm going to term limit you to 4 more terms. So what I do is I grandfather them and term limit the seats.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So what happens? Each state will have their district. And if Nancy Pelosi gets voted out in 2012, that would be great. In 2012, where the incoming freshmen will be term limited to 4 terms. Right. Now, I'm willing to compromise because some of the people I'm running with, and I've talked to a lot of candidates, and they all say, well, I'm not really sure it's going to be palatable to those freshmen. I am willing to compromise, not for me personally, because I'm going 4 terms. If the Lord wills it, I'm going to go 4 terms. I'm coming home, that's it. But I'm willing to compromise on the freshmen to grandfather them. Okay? I'm willing to compromise on that. But not on me. Not on me. And let them be grandfathered. But every election from 2014 thereon, the seat or the vacated seat or the person will be term limited. Otherwise, I'm not going to get the votes. Otherwise, it's pie in the sky.
That's right. That's right.
So that's
because it's not in it for themselves. Now, I will tell you as a constituent, the first thing that I would be thinking is, now wait a minute, I don't know that I want all of those freshmen to be grandfathered.
I know.
But
if I get it passed,
what if instead of we're just pretending like we're debating amendments here on a bill that's not yet written.
But I have it written at home.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I got a plan. It's called Day 1.
Yeah. Okay.
It's written. So I've got it
Day
written.
1. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. We're working on this bill. What if I'm gonna play devil's advocate? I'm gonna be one of those senators or one of those House of Representatives. Okay. You know what? In fact, I'm going to support your bill and say, yeah, grandfather the old guys because Harry Reid, okay, he's screwed up the nation enough, but he's going to die eventually, so he'll probably stay in until he dies, but okay, he'll vote for the bill. So, but the young guys, that worries me a lot. So here I am. Okay, I'm pretending like I'm a congressman and saying, those young guys, some of them are nuts. I don't want them in there for 30 years. We got to do something here. What if we said to them, well, everybody else isn't going to get, because my big thing right now is what we don't hear is that the third highest cost in the nation is pension.
Absolutely, and they're unfunded mandates.
If you take away the Social Security, which is not in the same budget anyway, and you take away defense, which is in the Constitution, you have pensions. So my big issue is pensions. So I'm thinking to myself, you know what? If we let them take their pension for their entire lives to get them out of office, to vote, that you got to do you've got 12 years. You've got or I guess it's 4 terms. You said 4 terms.
4
right?
terms in the House and 2 in the
Senate.
Okay,
so 8. Yeah. So,
8 years.
All right. So, would you compromise on something like that and let them have their pension, which is a huge thing for me. I would not like to see their pension, but I would rather have them have their pension and pay somebody bad to get out.
I don't.
Then what would you think of something like that? What happens if somebody comes to you and says something like that?
Oh man, I tell you, I would have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
Because what I would do next is I take it back to the people again. So this is how I'm getting back.
Good answer.
So the point here is that if I'm getting pushback, I take it back to you guys. You guys are the ones voting. Again, they fear the vote more than anything else. But I'll say this. In talking, because I've been up at the State House, I spent a lot of time there, and I've been up in Washington. These guys care more about power than they care about the money because they already have it.
Right.
Okay? Power is everything to them. The fact
Okay.
that you come up and you kowtow to them, they love it.